Welcome back to Diary of a Speed Reader. Today's book is Why We Snap by R. Douglas Fields, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. Now, this book has a sub 4 rating in Goodreads that I think is very undeserved, and I'm not sure if it's just angry people are looking to lash out when they read this book. I found it so phenomenal. R. Douglas Fields is a neurobiologist. He is really knowledgeable about the brain. And this book combines, things in science with what people feel in psychiatry and how, each of us it feels like snapping. And I think the frameworks that are presented are so valuable if you're in a high stress environment, if you have a tendency to snap, or if you're managing others that might have these difficulties. And I'm going to give you my 3 takeaways. But first, we are coming very close to the end of my 100 days. Yes. And if you would like to continue to get updates, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube station. I will continue to post, probably not with the same frequency. If you're on Instagram, there's a link in my bio to get to my YouTube. Now let's get into why this book is so interesting. Now, the first thing has to do with the way that he separates the act of snapping with anger. They're actually 2 different things. Anger is a much more complicated, elongated response, but snapping comes from a part of the brain that is like reptilian. It's actually something that we had implemented as a biological function to help us out. Now it's kind of out of control. And the way that he describes the neurology, super approachable. There's not a lot of extra jargon going on, and it really gives you a sense for what snapping actually is, both in yourself and potentially in others. Now, the second thing really has to do with the brilliance of him going through the trouble of creating this acronym, Life Morts, where he describes letter by letter, life and limb, perhaps it's insult, etc., 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 that will make a person snap if they don't actually understand this whole triggering response to begin with. It is fascinating, and when you think back to the times when you've been a little bit stressed and you've snapped at someone, likely you'll find why, the reason underlying in one of these letters. Now, the importance and beauty of this acronym leads me to my third point, which is he lays out a way to not snap at others. And again, people with anger management issues, that's a totally different thing. We are all actually capable of, and very much so, going to snap at different points at someone, at something. That is just wired into our brain. The thing is, you can control the degree to which you snap, as well as you can actually stop yourself from snapping if you recognize the triggers and have a sense for the triggers. And he describes very, very well what you can then subsequently do to start training yourself out of snapping, or even prepare yourself for what to do immediately to lessen the extent of it. I just think that's fascinating and so valuable. Now, I do think if you have true anger management issues, or if you're dealing with someone, whether it be someone that's a loved one or a boss or coworker, that's kind of its own thing. This is not going to solve all problems, but I do think that empathy is a big part of all social interaction, and also self-awareness is a huge part of improving social interaction. And in that regard, I couldn't help but give this book anything but 5 stars. Speed reading stats. This book was 416 pages. It took me about 97 minutes to read. If you'd like to learn more about speed reading, please feel free to comment below. Otherwise, thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, supporting me in this effort, subscribing to my YouTube station. Stay healthy, don't snap at each other, and I will see you tomorrow.